Whitley, Reverend Whitley, and I'm recording my video for RSO 520-871, Philosophy of Family System, Congregational Systems, and Multicultural Ministries. I must first give definitions of what family systems, congregation systems, and multicultural ministry is all about. And before I get to my thesis, family systems consist of members of a congregation that play a specific role and must follow certain rules. In AME Church, we have what's called our discipline, and our discipline is what governs the church. It's the rules. It's the rules that we run our AME Connectional Church by. So in the Second Episcopal District of the Western North Carolina Conference, which is what I'm in, our structure is we have a bishop for the district. For the second district, that's Bishop James Grady. Then we have a presiding elders who run the individual conferences, and there's two in a conference, and there's two districts in a conference. It's the Eastern District and the Western District. Within that, then we are assigned as pastors to a specific church. And by the way, I had a 1-year appointment. The appointments are 1 year for all pastors. We come back in the annual conference, and in that conference, we either go back to the same church or we get moved to another church. Praise the Lord, I got moved to a higher calling, where now I'm preaching 4 days a week, and I have a population of membership of about 62 people. In that, I have stewards, trustees, pro tems, a ministerial staff. I have a choir, real music, but all that's governed by the discipline. It tells us what we have to do. It tells us what church meetings we have to do. Next, we have what's called congregational systems, and congregational system is a community that exists within the church. And I like to look at it, the question is how your church. It asks the question about how your church works. How do people interact? What are the emotional status of the people in the church, right? So how they do that. Everything that people everything is in the world is in the church. So they're dealing with all their pain, their hurt, their suffering, and all that kind of thing that comes with them. And so part of what that definition begins to deal with that. We also dealing with what's called the multicultural ministry. It's really a broad view of the community that's within the church. It looks at the LGBT, different races, different sexual orientations, different age group gaps, from millennials to our seniors, or boomers, millennials, busters, and so forth. Those groups. So it helps us to deal with that. And so this class is challenging, but I learned a lot. I'm frustrated because I haven't slept in the last several days, but I'm excited about this. So how do we deal with this? I guess before I do that, I need to talk about womanist theology. A womanist theology is all about the religious conceptual framework, which reconsiders and revises the traditions, practices, scriptures, and biblical interpretation with a special lens to empower and liberate African women. In other words, the black woman, looks at the scriptures and seeks to recover her voice that's been taken from her. Now, I struggle. I'm cool with women's theology. Don't get it wrong. I love what Katie Cannon was talking about. I understand what they're fighting for. They crafted out a space that was needed. But I'm a black man, and I'm at this school, and I would like to have heard more about my voice being taken. I understand black liberation is all about, deals with James Cone. You're talking about Howard Thurman. Those you're talking about Gaylord Wilmore, who talks about the whole historical track. But where is my voice? That's a different conversation. I wish this class would have had more about black men and how our voice is gone. What is that? Is there no space for that? Anyhow, I can't accept womanist theology in this discussion because, in a way, it really is about the care of the entire Black community and Black men and women and children. And so, from that perspective, it brings me to my thesis. And my thesis was about why have we lost our young people? Why aren't we interested? And I say, even the AME church, why aren't we? What's blocking us? And how does all these family systems, congregation system, and multicultural ministry have an impact? And I thought that this book, Wake Up, was the most powerful book that I could have read because it really helped me to understand that to deal with multicultural ministries, we have to begin to not be afraid of the behavior that's coming. That we see the kids are tatted up, they're wearing different clothing, they're speaking a different language, they're smoking Black and Miles, they're out in the world, they're the unchurched, who our whole commission is to go and make disciples. When Jesus, when he was, when they was going to stone that prostitute, they were going to stone her because they all had slept with her. And so they were going to do that. And so to do that, what did Jesus do? Draw something in sand. Nobody knows what he wrote, but he wrote something because they dropped their stones and left. I think that we are hypocrites in the Black church. Yeah, I said it. We're hypocrites because we're so quick to run to Paul and we forget all about Saul. And Saul was right there. He held the coats of the people as they stoned Stephen. He was there. He was on the road to Damascus to go and persecute even more of the Christians. But God met him where he was. And he removed the scales from his eyes so that he could see. Our job is to bring these millennials in. Just some quick data that the U.S. Census Bureau first defines millennials between the ages of 18 and 34 years old. In 2017, the North Carolina State millennials in the state of North Carolina make up 23% of all persons for the state of North Carolina. Of that, African Americans comprise 24%. In other words, African Americans make up about 1/4 of all millennials between the ages of 18 and 34 years of age by the U.S. Census Bureau in the state of North Carolina. There's a large number of our young people here. And also the data showed that millennials are the most educated. And we have a large number of millennials in urban cities, especially here in Raleigh. To get to the point, the problem is that what I learned in the book is that I'm not sure if we really prepared for them. They have a different way. The music, it's not that they don't love our music, it's antiquated. It's antiquated. I'm going to leave you with this because I only have 10 minutes. Our pastor in Morristown, New Jersey, AME pastor, decided that the worship service that we had was so traditional that it was throwing the millennials off from really worship. And so what he did is he created a worship service from 8 to 9. He threw all of it out. We don't have any of our normal things. We have 18 categories for worship that's in our discipline that we should do. He doesn't do affirmation of faith. He doesn't do the doxology. He doesn't do the glory patri. He doesn't do the call to worship. He doesn't do any of that. He has a prayer. He gives an offering, and he has a sermon. And his sermon is tailored from our Life Application Bible that gives them what it's going to be from week to week. And he does teaching. He says he doesn't even deal with the Black theology in it because the people are there just to worship. He's trying to get them to a level where they can then eventually transfer over to the 11 o'clock service. But what was interesting was that the people that was in traditional 11 o'clock service started coming to the 8 o'clock service because they wanted to get out. Some stayed because they were traditionalists. They stayed. But they wanted to come over here and find out what those young people were doing. He said his membership grew some, but the one thing he was able to do was to get the parents of these young people who they're living in a different life. You're a single mother, you're a two-parent household. The bottom line is those kids are in sports. And the AAU, Amateur Athletic Association, they're controlling this market. And those kids play their championship games on Sunday. And they start around 10:30, 11 o'clock. And if you start worship service at 11 at night, getting out to 1 o'clock, that kid is not happy. That parent is not going to have a great situation. So they did it earlier. And so the kids were coming. The parents were coming. He was getting them in God's house. The goal is to get the lost sheep in. That's what we're trying to do. So I won't be long. I won't be saying. But I will say this. This class helped me out a lot. I struggled with this class because I learned a lot about who I am. I just got reappointed to a bigger church. And the one thing I did was I got there, I had about six millennials. And I told them, we're going to get you involved right now, day of. Church said, no, Mr. Pastor, we have a youth Sunday on third Sunday. I said, I don't care about that. We're going to get them involved now. We're going to let them have fun in the church. We're not going to let, as much as I know I can preach, I don't want to have them sitting there falling asleep while I'm preaching, not understanding what I'm saying. So give them something to do. Let them do the carry the baskets down when we give missionary offerings. Let them hand out the programs to the people when they come in. Let them sit over there and play the drums. Let them sit up in the cloud and play my iPod, my iPad, my iPhone. Put that in and plug it in and let them play music off the album. They enjoy that. I love it. Let them become active. So anyway, I'm not sure if we're ready for that culture. But this multicultural ministry really tapped me in because it helped me focus in on the age gap. And so really my thesis was all about how we can save our young people. And I try to give you an example within a short time. God bless you. And I'm so glad I had you, Kirk-Duggan. Got dynamite book here, sister. Love you. I will say this. My back is against the wall. I don't necessarily agree with his theology in all the ways, but I can appreciate what he had to say. Bless you. Peace. I'm out.